Hockey players from St. Paul, Minnesota are born tough, and unfortunately this guy's full name drew a lot of snickers through the years, but he could back it up in the ice. One of the most rugged defensemen ever to play the WHA in his early years. He was an original Minnesota Fighting Saint, straight from the University of Minnesota, where he was a WCHA All-Star player. Now, Dick Paradise is probably one of the forgotten early Minnesota Fighting Saint stars. He broke into the University of Minnesota program in the mid-1960s, and he was an all-star on the second team as a defenseman in 1968. Now, the 69 season was quite weird for him. He played with 3 teams that year. He had 1 game with Buffalo of the AHL. 2 games with 1 assist. He played the majority of the campaign with the tough Johnstown Jets of the AHL, that famous squad that was the inspiration for the Charlestown Chiefs. 8 goals and 31 assists for 39 points with 246 minutes and penalties. Now, he had 1 assist in 3 playoff contests in 41 minutes and penalties. Now, his season didn't end there. He ended up with the Omaha Knights in the playoffs, playing 6 games with 25 minutes and penalties and 3 assists. Now, 1970 split tie between Omaha, where he had 4 assists in 25 games, and Buffalo, where he had 5 points in 22 contests, and also played 14 games in the playoffs in their deep playoff run. Now, 71, he spent the majority of the season with the Seattle Totems of the WHL, 15 points in 67 games, including 3 goals and 3 games with the Knights. Now, 71-72, the Tidewater Wings came calling. He had 4 points in 51 games for them, mostly a defensive defenseman with only 80 minutes and penalties. Now, when the Minnesota Fighting Saints started to get their lineup set, they called on Paradise, and his first season was tremendous. 189 minutes and penalties in 77 games, 3 goals and 15 assists for 18 points, and 6 playoff games with 1 assist. Now, 74 again, playing a good defensive role on the squad. He had 2 goals and 7 assists for 9 points in 67 games, 71 minutes and penalties, and 7 games in the playoffs. So final WHA totals, 522-27, 144 games, 13 games in the playoffs. Now, to make Minnesota's lineup in that inaugural season, they had some really good players. Just to break it up a little bit, Wayne Connolly was the big player that year. They had Teddy Hampson, George Morrison, Bobby McMillan, Mike Antonovich. They had Jimmy Johnson. Terry Ryan was there as well. And actually, Paradise was, I think, he was 4th on the team in points for defensemen. Now, of course, they had the great Mike Kern and Jack McCarkin in net, and they had a really decent season. They were over 500 for the campaign. And the great Glenn Somnor and Harry Neal led that team for most of the season. And again, when Paradise playing in front of his hometown fans, he was a fan favorite of a lot of people, because when you drop the gloves in Minnesota to protect your teammates, you become a legend. And like I said, when he had to drop the gloves, he could defend himself, but when he didn't have to, he was, again, playing a good, strong, defensive role that was really benefiting Minnesota. Now, Minnesota that year weren't a big scoring team. He only scored 250 goals that year. So they were kind of a combination trap and stuff. But they did have a lot of older players on the team, but it was spread out. They had, I think, more than a half dozen players with 10 goals or more. Antonovich had 20 goals, Billy Clyde had 36, Wayne Connolly had 40. So obviously, having a second major league team in Minnesota, you need players like Paradise. And again, when he played, like I said, and by my memory too as well, yeah, he led the team in penalty minutes that year. So he took a lot of the burden of protecting the key players. And being the age of 27, again, he was mature enough to know what his role was. Wasn't a dirty player, wasn't scared to drop the gloves, just a hard-working Minnesota defenseman that we appreciate, and that's why we're doing the podcast today. So if you like what we're doing with our WHA Vintage podcast, let us know. We'll like, comment, subscribe. We're 150 away from 1,000 subscribers. May not sound much, but again, no monetization, no heavy promotion, just you the fans that make it go. Thanks for listening. Bye.